here we come kind of fast and furious. I mean, we've really been rolling, for me, at quite a pace, because this thing is competing with my addiction. I'm still, waking up and first thing running to the addiction, because that's on a time basis. If I don't put in the time at the right time, I lose something. Here, I just lose part of my life. What are we at so far? So yeah, it's pretty damn exciting. We're in the last sequence of rounds in the first age, and Spain and England are in war over Flanders and basically Belgium and let's see, anything else going on exciting? Turkey is growing slowly. England is still embedded in French territory, which is a big deal. Spain has extended their territory. Uh-oh. That crusade is gone. Don't leave that out there. That'll just cause problems. There was a little bit of weirdness about the crusade, because my crusade was too successful. If I had left a garrison unit there or something, I would have resolved the issue. However, Fez revolted anyway, which caused Spain to not gain as much as they wanted from it. But Spain took a penalty for not succeeding in completing the crusade because they didn't leave troops behind here, and because this revolted. Now, that might not have successfully revolted if they had left troops, but whatever. It probably, yeah, it would have been a crapshoot if they had left a unit there, and they might not have succeeded in taking this. But something to remember when you do a crusade is make sure you park some troops in the place you're going. What is going on here? So Austria has just won a war against the Hungarians and installed the marriage of their choice there out of the disputed marriage succession. However, in Poland, Lithuania has kind of gotten rid of some of the penalties for that marriage crisis by putting themselves in as supporting the side that won the Bohemian revolt. But they took a penalty over on the Hungarian side. And we got a lot to do. We're set up and ready to start, and the starting gun is over with the Poles. The Poles, with their crappy little cube setup, they're tempted to do a reorganization right away because they have this revolutionary idea here, which the only place I can pay the two of a matching type to get into is here on the diplomacy side of things. I could grab free trade. That gets me, it's not bad, and maybe it's what I want. I already have the diplomats. Quest for the New World, yeah, okay. I think that I'll go ahead with the free trade, but this is going to pretty much cost me my turn to do this, which is kind of crazy. But I'm that choked by these cubes, and I can't, and those, the ones out on the board, and I can't really do much about it except sweep them off the board, and I can't give up things that I bought. These guys, yeah, I would throw these away right away, but there's no rules support for that. Oh shit! But I'm not going to be able to deal with my revolt either. Son of a bitch. Okay. But yeah, let's get something. I'm not thrilled with this at all. Oh, what about events? Maybe there's an event that'll help us. I forgot what we got here. I doubt it. Yeah, there is. I'm going to grab the printing press. This is worth it. No, I don't have the fucking cubes. Son of a bitch. See, this gives me 2 new cubes. I have 1 in the pool. 1 just isn't enough to be worth grabbing that at this point. Oh, boy. All right. So what do I do? I need to free up a cube. I need to go spying. That's it. Sabotage reputation. No, I don't want more cubes on the board. So discontent. Add 2 discontent in an opponent's area. Support rebels. The opponent has to roll rebel dice. Okay. See, but this costs me 2 of my diplomatic powers. And it only uses up 1 of these fuckers. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't do it. All right, revolutionary ideas it is. I spend these cubes. I can take the event afterwards because I'll have spent a lot of my cubes. I research an idea. I'll research free trade. There goes 2 more of my cubes. You know, I mean, the problem is that I've had this on my mind that, wow, the limitation on cubes seems really unfair. It is really fucking harsh. You can't do certain things in the game. You can't achieve a massive diplomatic setup in Poland, in Lithuania, right? And maintain that, even though that seems like something that Poland would really want to do. And set up this kind of crap. But anyway, this idea has not been done before, so the Poles get a point. They're in last place right now. Neat. I have the stability. I also gain 2 victory points for the trade itself. And now I get the benefit from that, which is another merchant. Right. Place it on any main map trade node. Kind of having a hard time finding one I can play in. I mean, I can put it anywhere. I don't reach anywhere. Is that a trade node? I don't think so. Looking for a trade node. Looking, don't seem to find one. Well, crap me. I'll put it out here in the Baltic. It's not doing any harm there, but it's also not doing me any good. But I do get a free trade action, which would have been one of those blue cubes, so that's sweet too. Lucky enough to draw one that actually works. Grain and Kiev. I look at some of these others. Kiev itself doesn't give me anything. Smolensk doesn't give me anything. Vilnius, it's up here, doesn't give me anything. And then I hit one that I don't know what the hell it is. Odoyev. I'm going to guess it's in Russia. Yeah, okay. So it's in the bad part of the map. Which means I get a grand total of $3 for that. You know, not only am I in an area where trade doesn't come up all that much, but also the value of the trade isn't all that good. A $3 trade, and yes, so I only have one thing that applies. There were places that are close to me, but like Black Sea, I didn't look up to see, well, first of all, I don't have a port, and so I wouldn't account anyway. But both Black Sea and Lubeck showed up, but I don't have the port, and I also don't have ships. So that's it for them. And yeah, I think Poland has gotten itself into a shit situation. If my economy is big enough to absorb Lithuania, that would be great. I don't know if it is. That would be an interesting thing to see. 1, 2, 3, it's hard. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, it's not. I'm at 10. My base economy is only 9. So I have to improve my economy to absorb Lithuania, take it on as a vassal anyway. And I have all these fucking cubes out here, but that's been a lot of my effort, right? I can't abandon that. Yeah, the sunk cost fallacy. But the truth of the matter is, if that doesn't do me any good, I'm screwed. right? If that doesn't help me somehow, I am just totally fucked. So maybe I can gain something through luck, maybe Bohemia, whatever. I don't know. But right now, I am just fucked for this part of the game. Yes, I could improve my position relative to what it is now, but I don't think I can improve my position relative to the other players when I've lost the entire first age putting things down that screw me. He's doing very well on the board. However, rather than chasing these territorial ambitions that I have, I'm also interested in the Italian question already. So what I've kind of decided is I want to build a stable basis for expansion as my primary goal right now. Now, I got one danger here, which is the Safavid Persians. I don't want to be forced to fight. How is Bayezid compared to... See, since I'm in the lead, it's quite possible someone will pick the bad card on me if I ignore this, the bad part of this card. The bad part of this card is forcing me to declare war on Persia. It might not go too terribly. I got a good army and everything. And by the way, this is the Sunni-Shiite divide being handled in this card, but it doesn't feel like enough. Like, I don't know. I don't know how well integration of the different religions was, of the different branches of Islam was at that point. But anyway. I'm really kind of torn between just grabbing that and making sure I don't get hit with the bad effect for that, which doesn't really hurt me. So that I think is what I'm going to do. But the other thing would be to try to improve my stability, get some commercial interests and whatnot that I have available in my cards. But yeah, let's make sure we don't get hurt. Of course, this sticks us with Bayezid, but that's okay. All right. So, we got to get a blue. There are no blues on the board yet. Let's take this set because it is it's the bigger set of the two, opposite the Neapolitans. And we add one to Tabriz. That's here, and then I'll fill out the rest. I hope I get it right. What a good event for me. There's no question of that. But it generates some unrest over here. It creates another kingdom out here. But I feel like it's better than getting myself involved in a war that I could probably win, but would involve myself in too much trouble. So I made this decision to go peaceful with Bayezid here. Even though he's a good general and whatnot. Probably should have just held off and let somebody else pick it. And that gets me, but it's too late. That gets me another card. Christopher Columbus. Oh. Hey, look, it's Ferdinand. But Isabella's dead already. Maybe a different one? Hire Columbus. Castile may pay $4 to take a free explorer action, and if necessary, research quest for the New World for 2 piece to do so. If Castile has already taken an event this round, you may do this instead. Ooh. Or ignore him. Add a green bleep on a territory adjacent to the Caribbean Sea. You gain a piece. Now, green would be interesting. Do we have both greens on the board? We get the Portuguese. We could give it to the Portuguese. And I think that's the only thing we're allowed to do, because otherwise we'd be creating an independent state out there or something. And that seems really wacky. Okay. Columbus coming up where it did opens up an interesting option. The French could just deny Spain, the number 2 player, the right to the Christopher Columbus card, which is very, very powerful. However, Spain is involved in a war. Spain has revolts at home. They may be my ally. I'm not sure. Looking at some of the others here, printing press. It's got cube bonus. This is the one the Poles, I think, won it. The Renaissance. All players then play 3 if the realm is adjacent to Flanders or Wallonia, or 4 to either research any idea on the display or draw 3 action cards. Okay, the fact that we're going to need admin capability is an interesting thing. Like, if you don't reserve that, you don't get an opportunity to take advantage of the Renaissance. Oh, poor Poland. I mean, they've got no chance of it. Austria has a chance of being affected by the Renaissance. Very interesting. I don't know that we want to get it out of the way unless we saw that, like, you know, Turkey didn't have enough or something. So holding that off doesn't seem like a great idea to me. I have my own unrest problem. Wow. Jeez. Well, I got to think. Intriguing options. I think I'm going to actually take an event with the French. Because I don't want to get involved in a war and get myself in an escalating situation that I have to fix, all right, until I deal with some of these yummies here. So there's 2 that are of interest. Well, Christopher Columbus, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to just screw the Spaniards. They'll probably take him, though, because someone else may, once money shows up on here. So this gives me a couple of cubes. Do I have room for a couple of cubes? That's a big question. Yes, I do have 2 more cubes left. That's important. This would give me possibly the knowledge is power, which I think would take. I would get additional administrative cubes. Too many cubes. Can't do it yet. Can't do it yet. Gotta spend some cubes before that becomes worth it. This one, I'd be able to pay some cubes, but now I'm more tempted to hold off because I don't have this one. The interesting thing about this one is I could get rid of something that's kind of obnoxious that's here. Something like Inquisition. Maybe colonization policy, but I feel like I'm on the West. I don't want to get rid of that. I could get rid of the Quest for the New World, but that makes Columbus a huge card. I could, of course, then, if I did that, yeah, then I'd have to have picked the Columbus card too and deprive Spain of that advantage and just put Portugal out there. So that's no good. So the one I was thinking about getting rid of was the Inquisition, which helps people who are kind of sitting on these diverse religions, which I'm really not. And sure, the Protestants are going to come, but I don't know about that for sure. I don't. But yeah, I don't think I want to pick any of those. I think I want to do something that's going to spend me cards. Now, this one actually does, though. This one spends me 3 admin. And then I would get Da Vinci as my administrative or military advisor. He makes one hell of a good military advisor in a time when I'm walking into war. Ooh. Of course, cubes are a problem. Other options. I'd love to increase my stability. That would cost me 4 cubes and put me in a bad place in the upcoming. I could just... No, I don't have enough cubes in diplomacy to get rid of these cubes and start refreshing them. I do have military education, but I'd have to have an army to built for that to work, and That may be too late. That's kind of, it was looking at the options I had over here that led me to look over here. This eats cards. But I want to pick this one, not spread the gospel. Gah! Well, this is only for the player. No, all players choose. So I get to choose either of these. Which works okay. All right. The Renaissance it is. Oh, boy. Mainly because I need to get rid of some. I need to get some cubes back in the in the pool, and I don't want to start the war quite yet. Okay. So I pick a matching replacement for one unpicked non-basic idea. All right. I was going to take. I already thought about this. I was going to take the Inquisition away. Colonization policy is also a possibility. And put instead, and here's the question, it's either going to be bureaucracy or scientific revolution. Let's think about these two. Bureaucracy gives lots of money for base tax income. Right now, my base tax income is quite good at 22. But look at the Spanish, 27 if they hold all their territory. I don't know if they're going to, but that scares me. Turkey over here is sitting at 19. They're doing okay too. England is sitting at 18, but that could go up to 23. So I don't feel like I have a guaranteed edge on income right now. I will once I capture the English territories. Whereas this one allows me to shift different things. I'm able to take this. Not everybody is, because I have 2 ideas researched. It makes research cheaper. And as a minor action, you can replace an unpicked idea with another idea of your choice. Of course, that means once somebody picks something, it's locked in forever. And there's only 9 ideas. Unless there's something in that end game thing, this becomes, or in the end of turn thing, this becomes real, or end of era, this becomes kind of iffy. So do I want the big jump in money for everyone? I'm doing okay in money. Other people might be, but I don't know. So, yeah, we'll put this into play. Not absolutely thrilled about it, but gives me opportunities there. Okay. All players can then play 3 admin if their realm's adjacent to Lombardy or Flanders and Wallonia. That's me! And get to research, and I go first, and that's the big deal. And get to research any idea on the display or draw 3 action cards. Action cards equals expenses. So, what am I taking? Yeah, this is free research. Well, it cost me 3. So, which one is appealing to me? I could take the last military one. That would drop my stability down, but I have room for it. I'm getting ready for battle. Let's do that. Although scientific revolution is really appealing. I'm the only person who can fucking, well, I'm not the only person, but I would be getting it first. Yeah, screw it, man. Let's go for the scientific revolution. I've got a lot of military advantages over the English already. Well, I got some. So now research is going to cost me less, and as a minor action, I can do something. I get 2 victory points off of this, or 2 prestige, because it's the first. Now we slip through this way. It's a little tighter than I like, especially with the light there. And I can appoint Leonardo da Vinci as my military bonus. He's better as an administrator, but I'm going into war, man. So I want those helicopters and everything. However, now we go to each of the other players. So 3, if you're adjacent. Spain is adjacent, and I have to figure out if they, what they want to research. Everybody wants to research. This is just too cheap a deal. Although people without enough cubes are going to get hosed. Okay, so what doesn't get picked? Spain spent on the military drill, dropping their stability down. Figure if I'm going to war, I'm going to war right. England likewise took the tercios technology. That didn't give anybody else points. The military drill gave the Turks points as well. So we're seeing a big jump in points from the research. Poland and Austria, wrong order, but whatever, couldn't pick. Turkey took Quest for the New World. The reason being, it was either that or colonization policy to get the first place position in one of these, which I feel is kind of important because I get some more points. Yeah, I could have gone for scientific revolution. That might have been appealing in a lot of ways. But you know what? Screw it, man. We're gonna go and we're gonna discover. We're gonna discover the new world, right? We'll see how that works. But honestly, Spain is going to take Columbus at the same time. But it's going to be kind of interesting to see Turkey moving into the New World. Now, this is a weird thing. In this game, all the countries have equal countermixes, which means, yeah, sure, a huge Poland or whatever is taking up a lot of space on the board. They may not be able to colonize as richly as everything else, but in the old EU, Turkey had something like 2 colonies and, 6 trading posts, somewhere around that. Now, in the computer game, you were completely, there was no real counter mix, no counter limit at all. And there sure the hell wasn't a cube limit. I don't know. I don't know, like, does that represent some limitation in the computer game that I'm just not seeing, especially since I haven't been playing the later versions of it very much. And that gets us, as well, a draw over here, which is disputed succession. Pick an independent realm with a royal marriage on it and flip these, with one or more, and flip these over to the disputed. If you choose War of Succession, you take a free declare war action targeting only that realm. You gain 2 extra military on declaration of war if the target is adjacent to your realm. You don't have to be one of the royal marriage people, and you get a free declare war. I don't know how declare war is set, though. That may require a casus belli. It may still have casus belli limitations, or it'll affect your stability. I'm guessing that works that way. Support local nobles, lose 2 prestige, and gain 4 cubes in the chosen realm if it's an NPR. Clearly, you want the War of Succession if you can use it. And a whole bunch of stuff happening down here. Here we have a cardinal death. And that's going to put us to the Spaniards. I'm going to have to switch batteries. And I also think I want a little bit of a real break. But boy, things are really picking up. Like, the game is accelerating towards that, that 1492 big bang that happens over in the old EU. I know the computer game always feels like it starts slow and then accelerates. So this is capturing some of that feel. Okay, if you recall, I expanded into Schleswig up there, and that was an issue. And honestly, this may also have been something of an issue. The beerless one here that got grabbed, but it got grabbed back or something. This has to do with, and I don't recall the complete effects of it, but the DNPR expansion says play some, so the dispute is whether or not, or the dispute that was risen for me was whether or not you can expand into a province that's owned by a vassal state with the DNPR expansion. Now, The claim that was made was on page 3. It defines the vassal state in a way that it's not really a non-player realm. For each such, okay. Pick a DNPR of that color. Place a matching whoop on a province adjacent to the DNPR. They may not be a capital, unless it's the last remaining province of an NPR, nor can be occupied, owned by DNPR's ally, or the core province of a PR. If a province of an NPR is selected, this province is taken over by the DNPR. If a province selected has one of these other things, this happens. There's no third option, which this is where the dispute kind of lines up. And granted, I was not putting this kind of thought into it. But even without a third option, it still feels like I can expand. The requirement is that I expand into a province. The question of whether or not it's an NPR that I'm dealing with, and the claim there was on page 3, it defines some of this about vassals, I guess. A vassal is subordinated to the overlord. They are not independent and thus are not considered NPRs, but are not considered part of their overlord's realm. Either PRs cannot be vassals, place vassal tokens. Honestly, I feel like it's just as fuzzy as it was, which is to say that I'm allowed to expand into a province, and then there's this breach of, then there's this split of if the province is an NPR or if it's not an NPR, or if it's, I don't remember how it was worded. I think if it's owned by a player. There is a fair amount of this kind of fuzziness in the game, though. I do have to say, especially when you start getting to the edge areas of it. It doesn't say it may not be a vassal, right? If the province of an NPR is selected, this province is taken over by the DNPR. If the province selected has one of these things on it, you cause some unrest, and you put something that feels kind of like a claim under it, and we have one of those kicking around somewhere, or had one, I don't know where, down here in Gibraltar. The Portuguese kind of claimed it. And there doesn't feel like there's anything that, like the case of selecting Holstein or Botless, if that was the case, is acceptable, but there's no instructions on what to do if you do that. And that leaves me in kind of an inconsistent state. My own feeling is that in both cases it's acceptable. Just the reasoning being that certainly there could be a war that players, aren't paying a lot of attention to between these two, and a little bit of territory changed hands. And over here, the seizure and absorption of some of a vassal's territory also just doesn't seem that big a deal. In the grand effect of things, it's not going to mean much. But yeah, there's definitely a case missing from the rules. The rules appear to allow you to be able to seize vassals' territory, yet give you no instructions on what to do with it if you take that page 3 definition, which says that a vassal isn't a non-player realm. And I don't know what to do about things like that, but I'm okay with what's happened. Popping back up Spain feels like they have to do Christopher Columbus. Otherwise, with some cash on it, somebody will just bone it. So, and that's up to 6. Well, let's take this one into impact. All right. We're going to hire Columbus. Castile may pay 4 to to take a free explore action. All right, well, we'll see what that entails. We've avoided them so far. There's $4. Who is this? This has got to be the king. Yeah, good old King Louis. Wait, why? Oh no, these are my debts. Lots of debt. We didn't just pawn the jewels. Okay. And if necessary, research Quest for the New World 2 in order to do so. Yeah, we do that. Bonus, bonus, bonus. Don't take it before this, right? Okay. So we get 2, but Turkey gets 1. Because they figured out this would be of some worth. All right, let's look at the explore action. We have not... I don't know what kind of action it is. I don't know where my action card is. There it is. Okay, what does explore come out as? One of these. Okay, but we get it for free. It is a generic action. Requires Quest for the New World. When taking this action, follow the steps below. If you have this, you may move one light ship into a sea zone on one of the distant colonies. The ship may not enter a hostile sea zone. Could be dangerous if we were blockaded here. All right, this is finally getting its painful move over. Gotta stop. I gotta look at my mission, see which New World area I want to be in. We're in this kind of painful situation, but I want to be near the Caribbean, so we'll move there. I'll go into a trade slot, why not? Okay, and I sailed through here, no problem. Roll the exploration die and either use the result or pay a piece to re-roll. The mystery die we haven't used. There are bot dice too, aren't there? No, just the six-sider, the normal one, which I have been using. Oh no! That can't be good. A result with this. I have to pay a piece to discover a territory matching the number rolled, or fail exploration and remove one of my things. Now I can pay a piece to succeed, or I can pay a piece to discover a specific territory. Now if I get this, I discover the territory with the number rolled. So kind of comes out the same unless I don't particularly want to discover the territory. Now unfortunately for me, this territory is up here. I don't think I can discover that because that's not adjacent. This is problematic. To discover a territory or fail exploration and remove one of your ships. So this is kind of interesting because discover isn't defined here. Now, my feeling, and if I can't find anything on it, is, hey, I'm in a sea zone that's not next to any threes. I can't discover the Hudson Bay. But let's see. Discover is only handled on page 12. I bet you that's the page I'm on. It is. I'm screwed. So I will pay a peace token to roll again. This could go badly. I get an area 2. Okay, so now I have discovered a territory matching the number rolled, and this is because there's no death. or a distant area with an NPR province. A blip or bwop. Any discovery made must be adjacent to your realm, and if you have this, one of your ships. There it is. Any discovery made must be adjacent to your realm, or if you have quest for the new world, one of your ships. So yeah, I couldn't discover where I was. Place a claim on the discovered area, and place vacant. And claims placed on vacant territories are called colonial claims. All right. So this is interesting. We want to claim. So Antilles is one of our things. New Granada, Guyana. I don't think I can discover these suckers. And I don't think I particularly want to. I got to look. I know Florida is one of the things I want to go to. But New Granada has gold on it. Is that a good idea? Okay. So if I had this picked, but I didn't know that I was going to get Columbus in this era, I assumed he was going to be in the next era. Mississippi, Florida, New Granada is on there. Yeah. Hey, we're the Spaniards. We want gold. Damn it. Yeah, I know the problems involved. You can make a good argument that that's not a great idea. But there we go. We have a colonial claim there. Okay. You may pay to re-roll a maximum of 2 times. You must, when the first area on a distant continent is discovered, all unused trade cards matching the number for this continent, and reshuffle the deck. So, and I don't think we reshuffled the discards, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we have to. Otherwise, we're going to get an improper distribution. It doesn't say reshuffle the deck and the discards. Maybe it's defined somewhere, but it's either defined to reshuffle the discards or it's just not defined. So what continent am I in? I am in continent 1. So now I look for the additional trade cards. Oh boy, I don't know where I put them. Moved that. Did this. That seems to be the end of the line for this. I have no colonists available. England had one temporarily. They figured out how to lose it. So that's the end of the Spanish turn unless I'm going to do something else, which this was not a free action or anything. Here's where I'm worried. Columbus, so the Columbus card could have caused Portugal to slide into there. Great. You know, historically, Portugal may have actually landed in Brazil before Columbus, so yeah, you know. There has got to be something, and I don't know if it's NPR expansion or something else, that's going to allow the Portuguese onto that map. Otherwise, and not just that map, what the hell? They've already made their way, you know, by the time Columbus sailed, they've already made their way around near the Cape of Good Hope. I don't know if they passed it yet at this point, but they're significantly close to exploring the Far East in this particular period. As soon as the Columbus thing goes, if the fact that they are a non-player power means that they're not going to be oozing all over the fact that they're not a player power means that they're not going to be oozing all over the map. That's really problematic. That's sort of well, history's just screwed by that choice. Now, Portugal could be a player power, and in fact, you might make an argument based on that the Eastern map actually screws the game up, because the Eastern map campaign adds Poland to the game, right? Of course, and Turkey, you know. These are powers you could get rid of. It just, let's take a look at, I think scenario 2 is the book for the expanded game. Let's take a look at what scenario 1 book does for us here. Discovery and Reformation has 4 players, also 3 and 5 player. France, Castile, England, Austria. Still no Portugal in there. Imperial Waltz. Papal States, Netherlands, Brandenburg, and Austria bot. Yeah, that, I don't know what the hell that is. That's 1444 start, though. Sea route to India. Portugal, Castile, England, and France. This starts in 1492, partway in Age 1 already, and goes all the way through the game. Wars of Religion, I don't see any Portugal there. This one, yeah. The Bourbonic Plague, that's not going to have it. The Ambitious Margrave, this is the Brandenburg one. Okay, so we've got nothing here. Now, I don't know how many players are available in the non-deluxe version. If I was playing just with the Western map and I wanted everything to be in that should be, at least at the beginning. Now, again, there's a screwed up thing, and EU has its, the old EU has its way of coping with that. Portugal, major discovery, power of exploration and discovery throughout the entire era, but has this one weird period where they're part of Spain, right? During Philip II's reign. And then they break, then the Brazilian crown comes back, you know. But they're actually kind of weird because they're not everything is acceding to the Spanish throne. So Portugal is one that I would want in on the exploration side. Spain, France, England, obviously. So that's 4 powers. But France doesn't really make too much sense in the game without Austria in there. So now we're at 5 powers in the game. Now, yes, we have this much map. You're going to have some kind of events that simulate Austria's interactions with Turkey. Because they're at the edge of the map. Just like I feel like there should be some kind of interactions between Poland and Russia that are being covered if you eliminate Russia from the game. If you don't even have a possible bot, not a bot, but a dynamic non-player realm there, which can cause them some issues, the way the Mamluks and the Persians are going to cause Turkey. I'm really troubled by this, right? This edge of the map is fine. As long as you include Portugal as a major power, this edge of the map, everything kind of works. Now, later on, Portugal is not going to want to be Portugal. And that's another problematic thing. Like, Portugal becomes a lot less dynamic after a certain period of time. Really after once Philip II takes over, merges the 2 kingdoms, Portugal becomes something a lot less impressive in terms of their exploration and interventions in the world. So I kind of can understand that they'd be played by an NPR, but it had better spread and it had better be a challenge to powers that are competing with it. But if there was a Portugal in the game, the Netherlands is a clear transition, but this game doesn't do transitions. The same, now in the computer game you can do transitions, but I don't know if you can do them when you're playing opposed. But when you're playing solo, you can just say, I stop being this power and I want to go play this one. Because it's more interesting, you know? It's just, it's a more intriguing situation. But this is facing the same problems, but to a heightened degree that the old EU had, which is there just aren't enough players. Now, the old EU could have done it very, very easily. It would not have taken a lot to add, you know, it would take a few pages of additional events and rules and whatnot to add, say, Poland into the game, into the Grand Campaign. And then there's the whole question of Poland and Sweden. This is all problematic. It's like there are periods, like with Portugal at the beginning of the Grand Campaign, like that countries kind of come in and out of focus. And you have to structure that whole, the older you did this, it structured things so that like Venice would become Russia. No, Venice became the Netherlands, becomes Austria. Portugal becomes Russia. And it all worked very well because Russia's not that important, especially because there's no Poland in the game. Russia's not that important in the first two ages of the game. Portugal is incredibly important in the first two ages of the game, but loses its importance after that and really could be a non-player power. The Dutch don't exist, kinda. You got things like this, but that's all been taken over by the Austrian and Spanish inheritances. So the Netherlands doesn't exist until era 3, and they kind of don't even then. They're like played as a non-national state until the revolt happens, but they get to play around with the merchants and stuff. Venice is a harder point to make. I find them kind of a weak choice of powers in that first two eras. But they do have some nice interactions with the Turks in that period, potentially. And they're involved in the Italian wars, which all of that, they could be an NPC, an NPR in this game's terms, the same way that Austria has managed to be one. Austria doesn't really do that much. They're a major impediment run by the Spaniards against Turkey, and one that can serve as a counterbalance to France in Europe. Venice would be a very similar kind of position, but you kind of wish that these games allowed for more players. And this one doesn't have some of the same. Basically, in this one, they've baked and built in the events for all the powers at the start that allow you to play so many different powers, but the counter mix doesn't allow it. Now, of course, my table size wouldn't allow it either. Anyway, after all that yammering and yawn, this is how these end up so long. It's time for the Italian Wars to show up. Oh, what did I do with we got a new king, didn't we? I hope so. No. Shit. We get Ferdinand here. Nobody else has any impacts off this. This goes away. Trade deck reshuffled completely, yes. Has to be. The Italian Wars won! Okay. Italy is our domain. Austria gains 3 military and a claim in each of the areas with French towns or vassals. In each of these areas with French towns or vassals. Lombardy, Central Italy, Venetia, and Naples. France isn't got much there. They've got a claim in... they've got a claim. But that's it. They've gained no power here. In part because that thing hasn't triggered, right? The Italian Wars thing hasn't triggered, so there's very little... and no events have really allowed us in there. So, yeah, that sounds kind of shitty for Austria. Lombardy, Central Italy. France gets a claim in Lombardy and an alliance with Florence. Now, they write this as Florence. That's going to be Firenze. Okay. Just to make things difficult for players. East tensions. Austria loses prestige, but gains 2 cubes in one of the areas above. You gain a diplomacy. So that is clearly the bonus effect if you're not involved in these, is, hey, let's take some points from Austria. Force them to put some more cubes on the board, because cubes suck. And, not much else. And you get a bonus. However, that's not a very attractive card compared to some of the other stuff that's out there. We have 3 players have moved their events in play. 3 players have not. We moved the little boat over to the English, and things are getting complicated because the Spaniards have a claim somewhere. Somewhere I've got to have colonization here. However, in order to do that, I'd have to set up a boat line there. Now this goes to C, and C is over here. So yeah, so I can set up a simple trade route between Spain and the New World, but I'm short on boats with the Spaniards, especially seeing as I got to go fight England up there. Might end up doing, somebody might end up playing a peace, a diplomacy marker, so that Spain and France can make an alliance. Although that may not be necessary because the Spaniards can march up the coast up here and through, partially French territory. This looks like, the English own this little area around Bordeaux. A little bigger than that, but their Spaniards can just march through because the area contains the English. The Spaniards can march through it even though there are French there. Complex. But if the French capture Bordeaux, I don't think the Spaniards will have a way through anymore. And if Spain steals Bordeaux from England, that puts them on a bigger collision course against the French. Anyway, that's enough for a bit. I gotta take a dump sometime soon. It sucks. It's a beautiful day. I woke up at like 9 something in the morning, a reasonable time, and my addiction has been kind of forcing me to be here. It's now like 2 o'clock, It's like a full-time job having to do this shit, just having to be around for it. Even if I'm not I don't have to pay the same kind of attention I did to work, but it just fucking sucks, and I'm hoping this game or something breaks me of this addiction and lets me get out, take a week off or 2 weeks or something. I don't know. But the whole thing, it's so fucking designed to just pull you in. These generic missions always drop my mind, but this just happened. The Spaniards just picked up Discover a New Continent, which will give them 5 additional. Wow. For the English, I'm having a hard time deciding what to do, but you know what? I'm out. Chicken butt. I'm out of cash. And I think trade is my best option at this point. Although, there is a little bit of a problem with that pirate ship there. I'm not thrilled about that. That's going to reduce me by 1. It's not terrible. But how do I deal with it? I don't know. Let's take a look. Pirates are always placed. Pirates can only be attacked by ships in the siege zone adjacent to the node. To do so, you must take a naval activation, and all ships have to be in the same location. I don't have the navy I want right now. I have, I have 3 light ships. That's actually not that bad. So I could clear that out first. Of course, that eats up one of my military cubes. I'm going to really regret if I draw the English Channel, though. All right. I'm not absolutely thrilled by this. Now, I actually have someone who makes a good admiral. He could be used as a general instead, adding 2 artillery cubes to the fight. This is getting confusing, with so many people on a given thing. It's kind of hard to remember, the only person who doesn't have special troops is the Poles over there. And in fact, they have nothing special, which is, they've done no military organization at all, which is very fitting to the old EU, where the eastern countries, and that would include Poland and Russia, just didn't end up with the military technology. They ended up on a technical branch, a technological branch. Now, they could invest lots of money, but none of them were players. in the first couple ages. So they didn't. So it just relied on, hey, where did this little marker end up, right? And it would eventually jump over, various technologies because they just eventually get absorbed by everyone, but in that system. But they had no one to spearhead them. And then the first time that the eastern areas get a player who spearheads them is with Russia. And Russia's alone, which means they're not racing with anyone else. So they're reliant on their own only. And they're also working on this kind of lagging marker for the eastern countries. So, yeah, they can face Poland, but they can't face Sweden. They can't face the Ottomans, although later in the game, of course, the Ottomans start to decline technologically through various measures. Mainly that Turkey itself becomes less capable of doing stuff. Yeah. So do I want to spend a cube to attack? It's a big expense, man. I think not. I think I want to just take my chances with the trade deck, and we'll take a look and see what comes out of it. None of the events really appealed to me. Maybe I'm mistaken. Bordeaux. We got... Okay, so this is Bordeaux. We got a pirate here, too. Great. That includes a lot of locations that we have, which is positive. We won't write that off. North Sea, Lothian, Perth, those are going to be Scottish. The Pale, we got that. So we could get that to 2 if we move a ship to the Dogger Bank. And something that I can't recognize. Okay, an Irish area. So there we would be at... there we would be at like 3. We'd get $5 for that. Let's take a look at Bordeaux. We're worried about the French in Bordeaux. Here, I believe we'd be looking at Bordeaux, which is 1. Nantes, 2. Santiago. That's got to be Spanish. Might be this one here. No. Oh boy. And Rennes, which is over here. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes to 4. This would be worth 7, but it would be worth probably 4 to the French. Okay. Gosh. And then this one is just right out. Okay. So, do we want to give ourselves $7? The pirates, I believe, are a -1 on the trade area. I don't know if that is mentioned here in the pirate ship area. And vaguely, but they give you a reference to find the actual numerical value. Pirates. For each pirate ship present, all players could... Oh no, it's a row lower. Ah. So we would bone the French out of that. So if we took the Bordeaux one, we would be getting 4. If we took the North Sea one, I don't know where it's probably Santonge. It's probably Santiago, I don't know, whatever, in English. But it sounds like, oh no, it's here, it's French. Oh. So that would give the French like 3, and we were looking at more. We would beat them out. So we would still get $4 from that, whereas The Dogger Bank one and the North Sea, we were looking at 1, 2, at least 3, because we have the pail. So we would get $5. So let's scooter our way up here and move a ship off our fleet to the Dogger Bank. Not great. And grab ourselves $5. And now the tray is over here, making it sometimes harder, occasionally easier for me to get the money. Well, I gave the points for this. What I didn't give is the cubes, so I should be getting 2 diplomatic cubes, which is very helpful because we've got a total lack there. I wonder if I gave them their admin cubes, but I can't go back and fix something like that if that's the case. That's going to put us on the Austrians, and God knows. First thought is there's events that I'm interested in. In particular, lots of money here on the printing press, and it gives cubes. I don't get the cubes though. I only have 1 excess cube. The Italian Wars, I'd like to control this one, but it gives me 3 military cubes. I don't have the cubes. I have 1. So I got to figure out a way to spend some of my cubes. Stability looks like a possibility because it only cost me 2 admin to increase stability, and that seems like a good choice. That gets rid of 3 cubes, moves this up. Overall, seems like a good idea. Push this over. That's once around. I'm coming to the point where where I wish I could go out for a walk, as always. You know, I wasn't wishing this before my addiction settled in and whatever. Like, I would be like, it's a nice day, I should go for a walk. Nah, I don't want to. And I kind of don't want to either, I know it. But I have to go down and deal with my addiction very shortly. Interesting thing from GMT, I got like a rules update for Hitler's Reich. Now, I don't own Hitler's Reich. I didn't order it. I certainly didn't order a rules update. I'm guessing this is a replacement thing. But it really worries me that like they've got things tracking wrong or whatever. Anyway, I contacted them via email. I tried to do it via chat, which is usually more effective, but apparently chat was really busy today. I don't know. You know, normally I get on chat and nobody's there at all, so it ends up being an email conversation anyway. But chat was so busy I couldn't even dump, you know, a chat topic discussion in that way. So I just threw them an email. I'm hoping that like this isn't some kind of screw up, that something I'm supposed to get didn't come and this came instead. But I don't think so. I don't have any notifications that they were sending anything. So, but I'm worried that maybe somebody else needs this and I shouldn't have it. You know, I have no interest in it. Anyway, before I go downstairs, one of the weird things here is, oh neat, Finland starts way back here. Interesting. How interesting. I'm sure Russia would like that now. Technically, they probably have. No, because Neva is St. Petersburg. Yeah. Huh. I'm not sure how correct that map is. Looks a little funky, but again, I'm used to a different perspective where, you know, maybe things get cut off here or something. Okay. Right. At the end of last turn, the beginning of this turn, before I flipped over, at least before I flipped over the cards, it felt like this was going to be this massive war turn, and nothing has happened on the war front because the event cards, because of other things that have taken place in the economic phase and whatever, and that's kind of intriguing. Still feel really, really bad about Poland, and to a lesser extent Austria. I thought Austria was the one who was going belly up. Poland looked like they were going on a good route. Yeah, they got fucked. They got cube fucked. And with such a dysfunctional government that they only have 1 cube left because they're spread all over the board. And cubes are very clearly what dominance and progression are about in Europe, right? If you read any history, you'll understand that cubes are the important thing. There's one thing for them to do, and that's to grab the one event that gives them a couple of cubes. Part of why they flushed cubes into their pool is that they needed to be able to regenerate some. And the only thing that's out there that does is the printing press, which gives them a pile of cash. Yeah. Money, on the other hand, much less important. I mean, if you look, money is subject to inflation. It's imaginary anyway. Cubes, though. Cubes are where power is. Okay, so I gain an administrative and a diplomatic cube. And when you have so few, you're tempted to grab a cube out of there, put it here, so that you can combine and actually do something. But that's a bad idea too, because that reduces the number of cubes you have in the next period. Okay, and now each player has to choose one thing. So here I could create a diverse faiths by gaining, I would get another cube, an administrative one, in expenditure for that. But I would rather spread the gospel, which actually cost me one administrative cube, but I can turn one of these Orthodox areas that I own into a Catholic area. And that is definitely a positive concept. I'm running low on Catholic space, Catholic pieces. What's on the other side of them? So the other side of the Catholic pieces are the diverse faith pieces. I think with the exception of this one space, I don't have any that I'm sort of misusing. And there's a strong likelihood that more are going to convert. Spain is converting things to Catholicism. We can hope that counter-reform Catholicism starts showing up. What I may do is I may start pulling, because part of the problem is that so many nations are Catholic. And now I'll go around, I guess, to every other nation and make the same choice. It's kind of a decision that needs to be made on a case-by-case basis, right? So here, it would give me 2, and my capital. Interesting, what is my capital? I don't believe, so you would think Constantinople is your capital as the Turks. I don't think it is. What is this? In your capital area. Huh. So, I'm not even sure what the capital is defined as, or if it is. Capital 4. I mean, for most nations, I just sort of know it. Okay, it's defined here. Great. Fucking hell. It's going to be, capitals are underlined. The names of capitals are underlined. Well, the Turkish capital I guess, is Eridni. And so the capital area would be the same. Now, technically, I think they moved the capital officially to Constantinople almost immediately. Luckily, it's the same thing. This is an Orthodox area. It doesn't really hurt me to convert that to diverse faiths, and I would get two. It would actually, improve in terms of how many Muslims we're talking. I would get two administrative cubes, and I have them. On the other hand, it might be more impressive to turn it into a Muslim area where, I'm trying to figure out why, those are vassals, that's why. And I'm just not sure. We're gonna go with the conversion. It's cheaper than I'm gonna get again. It's kind of weird because it's actually, I pay one or I gain two, so it's a 3-point swing, but, yep, same on both sides. All right, that takes us to the French. Now, the French do not have any off-religious stuff, but I'm gonna take cubes, assuming I have additional cubes. Creating a bit of problem there, but I get 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I think the limit is 4. Administrative cubes in my favor for making that exchange. And I might head towards, a more Protestant stance, given that I'm already creating some religious dissent in my nation. Spain, on the other hand, Spain wants another Catholic cube. Or another Catholic thing. I am out now. I'm just going to remove this with the assumption that Catholicism is the state religion. And we're going to put that there. So the English would only get 2 cubes in exchange for diversifying their religion. They only have, they had a weakening. They only have 2 large towns. On the other hand, I don't want to pay one to place a religion token. I don't know. It says I must choose, but then it says pay. I think paying is an optional thing. So I think I can choose the printing press to have no effect. Or I could take 2 cubes. I think I'll go with no effect. The Austrians here we want cubes badly. We'd get 2 cubes. I think we'll take the diverse religion. And then again, I'm going to have to lose my state religion marker to put that in play. But this is going to start generating problems, right? We have a cardinal die. I think it's the last, the rightmost cardinal who croaks. Let's find this. No, it's of the player who drew this his choice. So Poland can kill a cardinal, and we're going to kill this one. guess. Okay, kind of weird. What do we slide leftward, right? Slide remaining to the left to fill the gap, yeah. That puts some more cash on. And then the final event of the period is the Peasants' War. Player who picks this gains a military. All players who have negative stability or 3 or more exhausted units lose a stability and gain some unrest for their used military. And then they get some rebels for each of the unrest that they gain. And then everyone must immediately roll dice for affected areas. I assume that's areas affected by this event. Not that seems to be the only sensible reading. That was what I did. So this moves forward. A little dopier than usual even. I took a nap type thing, which is, this isn't immediate, it's just, you might have heard it in my voice, whatever. So, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I want to do with the Turks. So, Safeguard Anatolia is owner vassalized 5 or more provinces in Karaman or in areas adjacent to Karaman. I don't have anything that can trigger any differences with that right now. I have this commercial growth, which is appealing. I have revolutionary ideas, which allows me to research for 2 of that. Administrative costs the same. I have this New World stuff that I don't really want. My cards don't really apply to that. I would like to get to the New World, but, you know, my missions don't match it. So it's hard to justify trying to insert myself over there. Free trade gets me another missionary and an automatic trade action. Yeah. I'm looking towards a war, and in this case I'm actually considering with Venice because Crete is sort of on its own. And I might do Crete and Naxos at the same time. Since I have a claim here, I'll be able to cure all that unrest by expending that claim, which is what you're supposed to do, right? But I don't always remember that, and I end up owning territory and with a claim to it. But you can expend that claim at the end of a war to get rid of all the unrest. And I think it's at the end of a war only, but I'm not positive there. I had set myself up for Cyprus. I don't want to attack 3 of them at once. I'm going to need more boats to do that. But I think I want to do this commercial growth first. Get a couple of bucks back. Because that gives me an expanded trade, which I will put in Alexandria. I hope these are not a limit. It can't be. And then that gives me, I don't have a development card. That gives me nothing. It's, if I do the free trade but idea, I end up getting a free, because it's called free trade, I get a free trade action, right? Except that I've screwed things up and spent the points that I needed to solve my stability problem. But I'm okay. I'm okay. I can hold the card. I have to hold one of the 2 cards. I might as well get the expanded trade net first. Chose to fire off and increase stability, getting rid of some of their unrest there. And, you know, I'm going to go to war. but I just keep putting it off, right? I'm not putting it off for the whole turn. It's just I had a bunch of administrative cubes. My diplomatic cubes don't help me. I only have one, so I can't use my spy network and try to get rid of that card. I think flushing out these mistakes is the biggest goal of the countries that have them. Poland's goal is actually to take advantage of some of the cubes it has on the board and avoid ever getting in that position again. Spain is gonna, oh man, I hate doing this, but they're gonna play an increased manpower. In order to get another troop, but the biggie is that they can refresh a bunch of their tired units. They have to find one of these. If they're on the back of a number of different things, I get that. I get an extra unit, and I get all of these. It's way more than I need. And it makes getting that goal almost impossible. But it does get rid of it does get me out of any potential cube problem with that card. Yeah, I know. It was just one cube. That's safe. I can afford that. Again, though, preparing myself. I'm low on cash. That's a serious problem. But I have plans to start my war against the English very shortly. England may have some interesting options here. Let me look at the Peasants' War, see if that has anything. We really don't want this to happen to us at all. And this will trigger the Italian thing. But the Italian wars themselves are kind of a, if I pick this, I may give France a reason that they need to go into Italy and might ignore the war with England that they want. Austria gains 3 military and a claim in each of these areas with, yeah, that doesn't work. France, though, gets a claim in Lombardy and an alliance with Florence. The problem, of course, is none of that really forces France to go in right away. Now, I believe when there's a power struggle, it gets scored in step E, but does it disappear at that point? That's my big question. Let's look at Power Struggle 43. Yeah. And if this is the only place it says, when a power struggle is scored, all will score as noted here. That doesn't make it go away. It may stay in place until a new one is drawn. Let's look back there. Activating. Okay. Below the line are some additional criteria for gaining or losing when that card is scored. Scenarios have different recommended power struggles. They'll suggest them. The deck should be placed face up. There's the upcoming power struggle. Excuse me. When taking the fabricate claims action, the players need only pay. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting stuff once that takes effect. So fabricating claims is cheaper. Even on the upcoming power struggle. Interesting. Power struggles are activated from the event when the top card of the deck is moved to the active power struggle. This will also reveal a new one. Scoring. Doesn't say it goes away during scoring. Yeah, they kind of don't tell me. Like, my feeling is it should go away either the turn it's scored or when a new one is activated. See section 16.541. Maybe this will tell me. If power struggle is in play, move the upcoming power struggle to the active. Also place tokens on the battleground. The active power struggle will be scored. It doesn't say a damn thing. Fucking hell. It doesn't say a damn thing about how to get rid of power struggles. Maybe in the sequence of play, it'll say. I really, if that's the case, I really dislike that. A rule, wherever you're looking, should tell you, and if it doesn't, I actually don't see the scoring there either, though. Peace and Rebels, income and upkeep, score prestige. When do I score it? Where's this? Score battleground areas for each. Doesn't tell me when. Will be scored in income and update stage step E, C10. Before being discarded. Yeah, so they're going to be one turn then. It does tell me there. I'm just step E, score prestige, papal curia, emperor, absolute monarchy, score any power struggles, and remove crusaded, excommunicated, and all of those tokens. Yeah, so when the power struggle comes into play, it's a one turn only thing, which means France would get certain advantages off of it getting fired off. On the other hand, is this really worth doing? I could get a cube to avoid the power struggle. Here, pick an independent realm with marriages. I have no interest in doing that. This is what activates the power struggle. This is the most interesting for that. I'd get a military, but I have problems because my stability sucks, and I don't have the administrative capability to do a damn thing about it. Oh, fuck. And yeah, I'm dumb as hell still. A little bit of delaying tactics here, and just grab a royal marriage with the Scots. I'm working on the Austrians, but I'm thinking, hey, you know, sure, the Turks can't see that side of the board, but now that I'm over there, they may actually want to withhold from going into a war in the Aegean and go for Naples instead. Get themselves established. You know, the Aegean thing was kind of neat because it gets them a claim to Sicily and starts moving them further that way, but it seems to me that it makes more sense, although Naples is a big chunk to take a bite out of, but it makes more sense to try to take advantage of the special scoring for the Italian wars. Now, I don't remember what that means, though, what that scoring is. It's probably not huge. Oh boy. So we look again, and it's the prestige of tax value of provinces they control being the only PR, that's for a given battleground with any little markers there, is going to be worth an additional 1, and having at least a claim or alliance there is worth 1. Okay, so that's some insight that I should have had. I assumed that I didn't have to worry about the power struggle till it happened. I should have thought differently since it's face up. Austria has a big army. Now, what areas are they interested in? Flanders and Wallonia, that's the place where the English have gone and marched into. Rhineland, we're in a position to do something about the Rhineland. What gives us victory points? Royal marriage or an alliance is worth something there. So time to look at the card and the cards. Okay, so subjugate would require an ally. Making an alliance would cost me half the target's income. And I got the cubes there. So I could make, oh fuck me. I could make an alliance. Well, first of all, I'm already in Lorraine. So I've got some power in the Rhineland of one sort or another. So let's keep looking. Burgundy, that's over here. Unless I go to war with France, that's going to be hard. Lombardy and Venice. I got my marriage in Venice, and I've got a peace in there, so that gives me a lot of power. Lombardy would be interesting. Is that part of the empire right now? Yeah, I think it is. Huh. North Italy. It's weird because technically it definitely was part of the empire. The question is, a lot of games don't treat it as part of the empire because there were no electors there. It had its own separate economics. Really, the emperor couldn't get a lot of power. Basically, the emperor would have to cross into Italy to have power there. And that often caused them great problems elsewhere. Venice, Central Italy, and Naples. Okay. Place cubes there. Oh, fuck. Oh, boy. So forging an alliance requires 2 cubes in the area. That's not going to be easy. What do I have again? Oh, God, I can't think. I have a subjugate, which works against allies. I don't have any allies. However, if I pay a cube for influence and $3, and now we got to walk over here instead of the other way. We steal a cube from here, not good. And we're going to put an influence. Uh-oh, do we have... Oh, fuck me. Do we have diplomats now? Okay, so I'm going to put 2 cubes. This is... I don't know where this marriage is, actually. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I need the Austrian initial leader. Is that this? It is. Okay, I don't know what that marriage is for. I'm married to somebody, and I don't know who. Like, it looked like I was married to Venice. This is a matter of the counters. There's too many nations. I don't know. I don't find anything in particular that appears to align with that marriage. So I'm assuming this is one that the Austrians created for themselves. Now, I want to spend another $3 then. Right? So I'm going to put 2 cubes in here and 1 cube. Yeah, this is how we get ourselves in trouble. 1 cube. Again, paying for it, not using those, but it doesn't matter. It's cubes that I'm expending, and I need those for the diplomacy. 1 additional cube up here in Cremona, whatnot. Got a bit of a problem with that one, though, right? So here I'm looking. Now, I want to be the only person who owns stuff, but having marriages or alliances is worth something. So I'm going to try to position myself into those 2 areas with diplomatic power. I have some of that. I don't know, how much does it cost me to make a marriage? No, an alliance. Okay, so I should be able to slip into some of the smaller places there and get some points off that. And this goes back here. And I'm too fucking confused to keep going right now. It's the dullness, but also trying to deal with this thing that I've been ignoring, figuring, yeah, you know, when it shows up, it shows up. And it's not like I've been completely ignoring it like France did, or England, sorry. Let's figure out what country we're talking about. God damn it. My brain is just so fucking, like, I know what I'm thinking, but the words aren't coming out. Austria, the white guys got themselves that marriage for a reason. They did put some cubes in there to try to work towards Brescia. They're interested in the... Oh, that's why they did the marriage, because of Brescia. Because they have some interest there. Yeah. But that doesn't really get them what they need. So it's like, yeah. But yeah, as words just sort of leak out of me. But I'm hoping Austria can gain a fair amount off of this. It looks like the problems in Western Europe are going to give me an opportunity to kind of gain to gain this situation. France may decide otherwise, though. However, France does not have an army, and Austria has built up a fairly large one. So if they're pushed into a military situation, they're gonna, with their 1 cube, more, they're gonna be, you know, with certain advantages, according to that. Also, that is imperial territory. An aggressor there, I can call the Holy Roman Empire into play. So I may just shut France out of the Italian wars and, you know, scare them away. Oh, the wiring on this new camera is beginning to cause some problems. I'm having trouble when I open it up. It's not really videoing correctly. I'm looking at the polls here on this next round around. In terms of real life, you know, I woke up. I sleep on a weird cycle, and I'm beginning to fall into what I think is my natural way, which is not a 24-hour cycle. It's like 26 hours or something. So, you know, I got up at like early in the morning a couple of days ago. I got up at 9 yesterday. I got up at 11 today. It's just, when unanchored, I drift that way. That hasn't been happening recently because I've been on and off sleeping a lot. But in the last few days I've been getting, a single big night's sleep. And I was actually thinking about going out and doing some yard work or something, but it's turned rainy, and it's going to be rainy for the rest of the week at least, which it's a shame because there had been a nice day a couple days ago, and I plugged in my battery so that I could do yard work. But every day, my addiction gets in the way. Today, my addiction is not getting in the way for various reasons. I don't know exactly why. Did dishes, at least, which badly needed to be done. Okay. So on the polls side, one of my thoughts is I should just pass. I don't have much stuff. I don't even have enough cubes to recharge at the end of the turn. But you know what? I am going to take the reorg, move everything into here so I can start getting rid of some of these fuckers. Now, I have absolutely no interest in doing the actions on the spy network, but I want to get that out of there. This man of the church, does he do me any good? He doesn't, but I can't really discard him to any value. So we'll just do this reorg and move forward. And the condition they're in indicates, yeah, Poland's going to pass real soon. 4 people pass, and it triggers things. But yeah, there are a lot of people with a lot of cubes, and there are wars and such not. So I wouldn't expect anything to end soon. It's just Poland is incapable of doing anything in this game at this point. This is a little weird. I'm looking at the explore action, because the Spanish, I just set out from here and went and explored. Or maybe I had a ship over here, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think it was connected to the fleet. What it says is, when taking this action, follow the steps below. If you have this, you may move one light ship using the rules for naval movement into a sea zone on one of the distant continents. Okay, so I think you actually have to move 2 or less spaces to get there. Which means for Turkey, it's going to require a fair amount of military actions to get themselves out to here and explore. Like I said, exploration in the old EU, for Turkey to do this, wouldn't be that terribly hard. It's hard to justify, but here you have the fact that you'd have to spend 1, 2, and then an explore. So you'd have to spend an extra military action to get you to within range of being able to do the explore. So that seems like a very expensive task to take, at least from that side of things. If I can get a port either over here or down here, things become a lot more interesting. But right now, not so much so. I've chosen a trade action, hoping to get a little bit more cash so I can start my war with Naples. Luckily, I have a land border with them, which is going to make this easier, because then if I win there, I can transit across and fight them in Naples itself, which is where I really want to fight them. But I have a lot of army to build. I have navy to build. I don't want to go shitloads in debt. Let's get some cash. Well, I draw 2 cards that might help. Adriatic Sea, both of them. I'm not sure if they do, though, because there's a damn Austrian merchant sitting there, which means I have to compete with them. In both cases, I end up with 1 ship, which I can move into here. That will actually serve me some purposes. Maybe it's dangerous, because then I have to fight the Neapolitans navally with that, so I probably don't want to. But I would end up moving a merchant over. That would give me 1, 2, and I got none of the towns. Venice, Milan, Brescia, Rijeka. Rijeka's up here. And then Ragusa, Zara, Zagreb, and Beograd. Ragusa, 0. Beograd, where's Zagreb? Up here. So I would get none of any of these. I would be competing against an Austrian too. I don't know if I get an advantage for triggering it. Because this one produces $5. Okay, the Austrians have no advantage on either one. This one's worth a $5 total, so this is the more interesting. And then we look for the trade, and what happens? Only one player can collect trade order. If two or more qualify, the player with the highest trade power pushes the other players down. The active player may break ties as they please. Yeah, so I think I'm going to take this for the $5 because we're both on the lowest level. French do a massive recruit units action. $32. They built themselves one ship just to help defend themselves against the English, potentially. Plus, an extra ship could be useful, whatever. But also, two big armies. Assigned my king over here to this army. It's obvious I'm going to war. I could have declared war and done the same thing. Do I want to do that instead? Well, we'd have to worry about calls to arms in that case. Yeah, actually, I do want to do that because I can build extra troops. My limit on troops was my available pool. I can build extra troops coming from my alliance, which is with, oh no, that's a vassal. I don't think I'm allowed to have I don't think a vassal is allowed to be an ally. But I could pull it from my Milanese alliance there. And I have an alliance up in Scotland. So I could build a third army up in Scotland. Now, let me make sure that these armies are allowable. I built 2, 4, 5, 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, easily. And this one definitely can be as big as I like. The Scottish army could only be the size of the Scots. But, yeah, I'm going to do this. That's going to cost me some cubes, though. A call to arms, I believe, is 2 cubes. I don't really like doing that, but call to arms is 2 cubes for an offensive. I don't have that. So I can't bring the Scots into this because they only have 1 diplomatic cube. That's okay. So then, do I want to declare war at this moment? I'm looking to see where the English have allies. They have none except for Portugal. Portugal is not adjacent to France nor to English realm, so they can't bring them in. So, yeah, I think I do want the declaration of war. Let me just look through the sequence, make sure there's nothing else that happens. Remove all your cubes in each of the target realms areas. Do I have any cubes in England? I do not. England has cubes in me, so they couldn't declare war on me. Okay. We're not. Because this isn't a non-player, the fact that I have ships here is fine. The fact that there are no British troops in any of the areas that I'm building my troops. So yeah, I can get away with a declaration of war. That lets me do this for free. Otherwise, I could have declared war and moved in. I don't know which makes more sense. But I'll put this here, and I got to grab an English one and move the boat to Spain, which I already did. A bit of a conundrum here. France, if they seize this, closes off our route to capture any English territory. We could build a reasonable sized army, although we're in heavy debt. Remember, it's only 5 debt counters allowed. Eeg. We're in pretty heavy debt there, and what little army we have is down in Morocco still. But we could do some nastiness. As an example, we could sail and make an invasion of Ireland or something like that. That would be, you know, kind of obnoxious to the English, or land in England itself. Hey, it's Armada time. You know, if the English army is bent on facing the French, we can do something. But we're going to need a navy for that as well, and navies are expensive, which is part of the problem. We could alternatively make an alliance with France. That would cost someone a cube, a diplomatic cube. I think we're better off not doing so, but we could negotiate that with France beforehand, before somebody spends a cube, but you can't have any effects until the cube is spent. At least that's how I word it, how I read it. I could gather ships in the sea. That would do something. That would let me move 6 units. No, not really, because I can't pick up units and move them. So I'd need, to move 6 units, I'd need 2 ships in each of these. So I got to build myself at least a couple of ships. And an army. Okay. At the cost of a 3rd loan, I build troops. I build 2 ships, spent a total of $20. That was what I had, plus 1 more loan. I moved my king, I think I'm allowed to do this as that sort of free action, up to here to command this army. And next turn, if I do a military move, I can shift my boats to here, or to here. Yeah, 1, 2. Because from here I could land up in here and start attacking Normandy, but up here I could land in England itself and start attacking the English territory. So yeah, and that's the cube that we had to spend, and the English get this. I am not upset about the use of cubes as sort of action points. That feels very, you know, CDG level. In terms of like, yeah, I have so many resources to spend on moving my armies and whatnot. I think that works fairly well. The thing that just infuriates me is the fact that cubes are serving so many different purposes in this game. And some of them, you know, like the diplomatic influence, as opposed to alliances and, marriages are marriages, whatever, you know. But as opposed to alliances and whatever, I feel like there's this, the only way to explain them is that the government is having to make a sustained effort continuously on that country to maintain that influence in that country, as long as it's not a formal relationship. And similarly with something like this, these are sustained efforts until you've expended them. I can accept that argument. I can understand and say, you know what, it's not complete bullshit. The problem I have is the fact that it kind of... Is that guy supposed to be lying on his side? I don't think so. the fact that it isn't well, there isn't a good warning of, don't use your cubes for this stuff, it's stupid. Now, I learned that immediately, or I've learned that in this one play, not immediately. And I still am struggling, though, not to use my resources in that sort of way. The comprehension that they fill, that means that my kingdom will not be able to act, that I'll be a paralyzed king, that I won't have these ratings and these advisors that I think I have. That's very disturbing. Because if I had a shittier king, I could maintain all of this external connections, like if I had an interregnum or something. And that doesn't really make sense. So it doesn't quite mesh together. It's the fact that there's a hard limit on cubes, and it's not really an ongoing effort. It's an ongoing effort only if you're running low on that hard limit. And it's just, it doesn't work for me. Something is not working there beyond the frustration of not being able to cope with, emotionally and whatever, not being able to cope with the fact that, yeah, I've got these diplomatic relations all over the place. I'm doing great with that. Yet, now my king is helpless because his mind is constantly on all his, agents that are out there, whatever the hell those cubes are meant to represent, and you get cubes without doing anything sometimes, right? It's just like goodwill or something like that. To me, it feels kind of like the diplomatic ties markers in empires of the Middle Ages. They don't feel like they're a resource that should be draining the imperial capability to do things. Some of the other things, territories that you're administering that you don't own, or territories that have been conquered that you do own, but that the other person has, and obviously the royal power itself, the switch in focus, I'm good with that. Although it wouldn't mean much if it weren't for the fact that the cubes out on the board and the cubes on these cards count against you, right? Because the cube limit is quite large. Unless you do those things, unless you use cubes and leave them lying out there, you're not going to run into this problem no matter what, right? It's not going to be a big deal that you picked a cube to change your focus if you don't have lots of diplomacy or lots of effort being expended on these cards. And it's just hard to grasp. Again, it feels like that is a stable thing that I'm putting out there, that I shouldn't have to be paying constantly for it every turn. That this is something stable that I've put out there because I'm not getting anything off of it. Sure, I'm getting something off the spy network, theoretically, with the counter-espionage capabilities. But I'm not getting anything off of it continuously, and I can not really figure out a way to use those cubes. England, I got a few choices that come to mind. I could raise my army. I'm in trouble here. I'm facing a bigger French army. That seems like a pretty good idea. But other options, I don't have a lot of money. I'm going to have to go into debt if I raise my army. I could do another trade action. I think that's kind of weak sauce because I'll end up losing my army if I'm not careful, right? And then almost equally, there's a couple of bucks and a cube to be gained off of triggering the Italian War. I don't want the disputed succession. That causes me some problems and throws additional cubes on the board that I don't want. And the Peasants' War, I don't want that event happening because that fucks with people who have low stability, and I have low stability. But yeah, I'm going to go with building an army. English, I try to do this on the cheap. I build another ship because I see that there are navies being built by Spain and France, and I'm worried about that. But I also build up the rest of my infantry that I can. There's not much more I can do without paying like the excess cost for mercenaries or whatever. I could buy a cannon, but I don't really want to. What I want to do is I want to defend my territory, right, as best as I can. Things do not look good, though, from the English point of view. That's for sure. They now have two major powers focused against them. Major powers. Spain's got as many military cubes as I do. France has a little bit more. That means between them, and this is the same problem that you face in empires of the Middle Ages, right? Which is, oh look, each enemy, in that game, enemies have cards as their sort of active resources. The same place as the cubes play in this. Each action you take takes a card to play. You don't know what's on the cards. You flip them over and they determine the result of the action you're attempting to do. It's a different kind of mechanism from the CDGs and certainly from this. Although the randomness is similar to the randomness of the die rolls in this or in the die rolls of a CDG combat, so I guess it all kind of works out the same. But if you're facing, if one empire, no matter how big an army, which in that game is basically represented by how much cash you have in reserve, that you have, you're able to defeat one enemy one for one. You all have the same number of cards, right? If you have a big enough supply of cash, you can stave off any single enemy. But if 2 or 3 people gang up on you, now you can only oppose 5 actions, and each of them have 5 actions. So, you know, sure, the first guy who attacks you, if you decide he's attacking places that are important enough to defend, might get his ass handed to him. But then the next 2, you can't defend against them. And that's kind of the result that I'm feeling in here. Now, it's not really quite the same, because I have this army here and it can defend itself. So it's a somewhat different mechanism, which is if the French want to attack me, I've got my army built. They can attack me. If they want to attack over here, I can't do anything about that without reacting. And it's the reaction that costs a cube. So my army could be static and defend one area, which is a little different from the empires of the Middle Ages, but it can't defend the other territories that will be overwhelmed. Now, there was one other thing there that I wanted that was similar or that fixed into this, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, definitely buying into the gotta get some debt, right? Except for France. France is so wealthy. How like the computer game. All right, on to Austria, and then I think I will reward myself with a nice injection of my addiction. And so far as my addiction goes, I probably shouldn't, and it won't. I'll probably just go down and watch some more YouTube videos. I've been watching a lot of this Simon Whistler guy, who just reads scripts that people give him. I think he manages, you know, the whole operation as well. But his main thing is just to be a voice for reading these scripts. And I don't know why I'm kind of hooked on it. Some of the stuff's interesting and stuff, and he does many different channels. Maybe it's because he wanders off into tangents from the script into his own life and whatever. Okay, well, since I'm on camera again after having peed, what the hell's up with the Austrians? The Austrians have not taken their event yet. I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. Okay, let me cut off camera and I'll come back to what I think about. I just picked that up to tell you about, you know, this thing that has nothing to do with the game, and then felt like I would play the game in real time, but it is too fucking hard to make these decisions in real time. One thing that kills me here, so I've put some effort into Hungary here. I've got 6 cubes there. If I don't take their vassal, I think they're only worth 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. I have a subjugate. I could vassalize them. It's a little worse than that, though, because there's 2 Polish cubes here, too, which are conflicting with my cubes. So I would need 4 more cubes. Now, I don't have 4 cubes to play, so this is not a problem. But I think part of my goal was build up cubes in Hungary. I don't know if I did this explicitly, but build up cubes in Hungary so I can subjugate them. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do something to generate a royal an alliance in order to get myself into a position where I can use cubes somewhere on the board on that subjugation. Now, with the Italian wars in place, I've kind of set myself up into a place where I can start working on some of those. So this would cost 3 cubes to get Firenze if I wanted to vassalize that. That's not good. It's going to be hard for me to vassalize over here because there's so many French cubes. I don't know why I put them in there. Where else is in the Italian wars? The Rhineland is in the Italian wars, but I already have a presence there. That's worth something. An alliance would be worth something else. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an ally out of... Flanders, Wallonia, Rhineland, Burgundy, Lombardy, Venetia, Central Italy, and Naples. The Italian wars go well outside of Italy. That's the thing. They cover the Spanish road. There are going to be more Italian wars, I can tell, because this card says the Italian wars won. Oh, hey, that was what I intended to look at. If Italy is our domain, we get claims in each of these areas with French. Oh, geez, I don't know. Do I want to do this shit? Cutting off camera again, sorry. It is actually working more or less normally. Yeah, I'm going to take this event. This gives me some cash. Shifts over there. Gonna have to put some cash over on those. Italy is our domain. Austria gains 3. Oh, fuck no, I can't because of the damn cubes. I need to get cubes in play. Okay, but I need to keep this, I need to get cubes available for me to do this. That's been the whole problem because I want that 3 military cubes. So I would get 3 and claims in each area with French towns. I don't think there are any French towns, but there are in Burgundy. Is Burgundy one of these? I can't read without the light, and it's bad. Lombardy, Central Italy, Venice, and Naples. France will get a claim in Lombardy and an alliance in Florence, which I really don't want to trigger until I'm ready anyway. So yeah, we'll hold off on that. So what we want to do is make an alliance, I think, probably in the Italian area. I don't think I'm able to do Florence, right? Because subjugation, we look at this card and read it. My tax base is fine. Discard cubes equal to the target's tax base plus any opponent's cubes. Okay. So I'm going to do a royal marriage, which I look at another sheet to read. And look for that. Not a royal marriage, a forged alliance. I have to spend a diplomatic cube. And I have 2 cubes in the area. I could do this down here in the Rhineland. That might be more valuable. That was kind of my problem is, do I want to do it in Italy itself or the Rhineland? And to figure that out, I run back over here and I find the scoring for this type of rule. Tax value of province you control, being the only PR with stuff there, having at least a marriage or an alliance there. I don't think it makes any difference whether my alliance is over here in the Rhineland or if it's in... Yeah, so if I do it in the Rhineland, forged alliance, I'll be half the tax income. So 1 cube, I can get an alliance with the Lorraine. for the same cost. And now, that's the one I can't have. Okay, so I put an alliance on Lorraine, and you don't want to cover the shield because you can't see what the fuck's going on if you do that, but you don't want it loose because it's problematic if it's loose. And that gets us to the end of this sequence. And you know what? Yeah, I know. If I could, I would stick a dandelion in your mouth. Don't worry about it. I think this is a good point to load up. We're getting ready for the wars to actually brew into full value now. We've gone through that first part of the turn when a lot of the hard decisions are being made. The Austrians, for example, had the hard decision of, where do I pick my alliance? But other people, hey, how am I setting up for this war? Now it's going to be the implementation of all this shit. To say one thing, well, I've said so many things. Why do I only have to say one thing? My battery's dead. That's not the one thing I wanted to say. Or my battery's not working, the charger. With the old EU, I did not go into anywhere near this kind of detail. In part because most of the decision making was me sitting with a spreadsheet, which is really hard to represent, but I can express everything that I chose afterwards very easily. There's a very easy narrative that comes out of it, as opposed to this, where I'm pushing cubes, I mean, and everything's pulsed and disjointed, so it's very hard to find the narrative stream. Reality's the same way, but that's something different. One of the advantages of games is that it's easier to find the narrative stream than it is in your life, unless you're looking back from a long way away, and you can say the big picture is, well, look, Poland fucked up and didn't do anything, and Turkey is growing and doing well. I can say stuff like that at a very broad level, but I can't look down and drill into the specifics and understand, everything that's going on because I'm too busy making all these individual little acts. And then when the military comes, it's very traditional military. It's like a war game, the military game. And it's not a trivial war game. It's like Empires in Arms, very much like it. And so it might be interesting to dig into the specifics of a battle, but like the decisions of where I'm going to move and whatever, very seldomly are those going to be mind-wrenching like choices, the way almost everything in this game is. And almost everything in the modern Euro is, to me, at least. Which is, I've got this web of optimization problems to deal with. And I say that here, and you're saying, well, what's the optimization? Well, things like how to get my troops, engaged using the least number of cubes, because cubes are sort of the optimizing facet in this game, but also your cards and whatnot. But cubes are your real optimizing facet. CDGs have that, but it's a little bit more. It's a little closer to a regular war game because your decision is, well, how can I do the things that I can do with this hand of cards? It's similar. It's very similar. Especially with the pulsing and everything. But when you look at, your sort of traditional war game, you have that issue in EU, right? Which is you're allowed to move one force for $10. So, and all your forces for $100. And there may be something, I think there's something in between, like a medium campaign where you're allowed to move 2 forces or something like that. In a military situation. It also costs $10 and allows you to do all the exploration and shit that you want and maneuvering within your country. But generally what I see is one aggressive action each time, and so there is a little bit of this in terms of how can I best utilize the $100 or whatever. Well, let's say I have $100 on me. I can make one massive swing, or I can fight 10 rounds where I take 1 territory per round, or I move into a new territory each round. And so there's a little bit of that optimization there, but it's really lightweight compared to what's going on here. And I'm just not comfortable thinking this hard.